National Fishermen and Pacific Marine Expo are proud supporters of the Galley Stories podcast, as we make similar efforts to highlight the people and topics that define commercial fishing. You can see what that looks like in print and online all year long, as well as every November in Seattle when this community comes together at PME. Check out nationalfisherman.com and pacificmarineexpo.com to learn more.
Hey guys, this episode is brought to you by Alaska Brewing Company out of Juneau, Alaska. Go check out their new Wildness beer. Launched on March 1st, any place that you got a good retailer near you or your favorite watering hole. Here we go.
Hello and welcome to Galley Stories, stories of the Bering Sea and beyond, hosted by Mark Kaler. My name is Penka Jane, podcast deckhand and longtime listener. We'd thank you to subscribe to the podcast and leave us a review. Here's today's catch.
Hello guys, and welcome to another installment of Galley Stories, stories of the Bering Sea and beyond. I am your host, Mark Kaler. Today we have Captain Casey. Oh my God, Katie.
You goofed.
Listen to that. You know what? Let's leave it. Captain Katie Arnestad. How you doing today, Katie?
Good, thank you. You too. How are you?
Now I'm all fumbled up.
Okay.
Well,
it's okay.
Let's just get into it.
Yeah.
Where were you born, and what got you into commercial fishing?
Oh, I was born, it was Edmonds, Washington, born, and I grew up around gill netting pretty much my whole life. My grandfather on my mom's side was a gill netter and avid sport fisherman, and then my father, Peter Arnestad, fished in the Sound where we lived, and Puget Sound there in Everett, and he started running a boat there by himself when he was 17, fishing for salmon. And anyway, as far back as I can remember, there's been gill nets in the driveway and just boating, and it's been a part of my life for as long as I can think back. I started out going out with him, my dad, when I was like elementary school age, out in Puget Sound, and just night trips, a trip here and there. But that was my first introduction to gill netting, actually going out and catching the fish. But yeah, always helping him rack nets and all that, and stripping nets, and a lot of that. But 3 years ago, I started running my own gill netter in Bristol Bay.
You're jumping way ahead.
Okay.
Let's go back to when you actually got paid.
Oh, yeah. Well, I never got paid.
Oh.
When I was going out with him. It was kind of more like, oh, you want to go out with Dad? You know, out in Everett there. But, yeah, so jumping forward, started getting paid. I started going up there when I was 17. And he gave me a half share. And I ran the hydraulic drum that the net spins on, and ran that for him for one season on deck, and that was a hard season in 2003. Very little, small run and low price, and but I still thought it was awesome because I think I made like $5,000 or something, and I was just a kid, and that was like the most money I'd ever seen, at once, and I sure blew it quickly.
Where did it go?
Pretty much partying and buying stupid stuff. Like, I think I got a fancy cell phone and, things like that. And you think, oh, this money's never gonna run out. And I just, I learned that lesson early on of, kind of preparing for the down times, I guess, saving your money for when things aren't so good. And, I've kind of carried that lesson with me from that experience for, my rest of my life so far, considering the fisheries have been kind of down right now.
Let's go a slow progression, because you were with your dad like 16 years, right?
Let's see, it was 2003 up until, was it 2020? Yeah, so
walk me through those years.
Yeah.
Or walk us through those years.
Those years were actually pretty cool because during that time, my dad's always been a very high producing, catching kind of boat. But during that time where someone like his really great years, and as a team. It was me and this other guy, Miguel, were kind of his core crew during those years. We kind of had a revolving door of a third person, but which normally crews consist of like three to four people. But we were like top boat in the bay a few of those years, and so that was a pretty, we were proud of that, and a lot of hard work and some crazy stuff. A lot of crazy weather, and I just see a lot of fish come over the roller. But amazing at the same time. I feel really lucky I was able to spend that time doing something that cool with my dad. A lot of people don't get that experience. But yeah, that kind of ran its course over that period of time. It's like I could only work deck for so many years before it starts taking a toll on your body, and it's just very physical. My main job evolved into picking the fish. I mean, I did everything back there, but I got really good at being fast at picking. So I could just, if he said, "Katie, we gotta get him out now," I was like, okay. I knew he was serious. I was like, okay, we'll tear through these fish real quick and get the net on board so we can go make another one, another set.
So when did it start creeping into your mind that you needed or wanted your own boat?
Well, I always wanted to. It was just kind of like...
Didn't want to leave Dad
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, and we had a good thing going. We had such a great run. And I always knew, like, oh yeah, this is something that I'd like to do on my own, someday. It was just... we just kept having these really great seasons. But when it really happened was that the stars aligned. And the year I was having my son Cooper, I took the summer off. And Wes Schwimmelar, the guy that I ended up buying my boat from, was going to retire. And so it's a boat that I've always admired from afar. And it's just a great boat, and it came available, and he gave me first crack at it, and I decided to just go for it.
Did that come with the permit?
No, I had bought my permit years prior.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So it was probably, I think maybe four seasons in with my dad, or somewhere in there. Because when I first started, the D wasn't really happening. You could only have a single permit. The double permit wasn't in the cards yet. So it was, I don't know exactly the year, but it was 4 or 5 years in or something. I ended up...
So you're 21 or 22?
Yeah. And so it was like, okay, I've been saving my money up. Am I going to buy a house or a permit?
You bought the permit?
Yes. Yeah.
You bought it yourself?
Yeah. So what we ended up doing was it was very, very fortunate, was my dad, he purchased the permit and put it in my name, and I bought it back from him on terms that way. So he carried it for me, and that was, to me, a huge gift, because as a young person coming up with that chunk of dough, which at the time I think it was like $132,000 or something, would be difficult. But I ended up buying it back from him. Yeah, I mean, so I think it was 3 seasons, and I had it paid back though. So I saved all my money, and that was my goal, was to
Hammer
get that
out.
paid off. Yeah, and then after that, I was able to work, my crew share with him, plus the extra share for the permit. So, I was able to make a little more earnings that way. Mm-hmm. And, then started saving that money for one day, hopefully buying my own boat. And so that's the way that all went down. And
so at this point, obviously you've done wheel time on your dad's boat.
Yes.
You know how to handle a boat.
Yeah.
You get with Wes, who's a phenomenal guy, by the way.
Yeah.
Kept the boat the same name.
I kept the same. I loved the name.
And the name of the boat is
the Old School.
That's right.
Which, for a few reasons, I love the name. I mean, it's for the people that know, it's a Curry 32, which is just a classic kind of mid-90s glory boat. Just at the time when they were built, it was the best you could get, in my opinion. So it's an old school boat though. It has all the old mechanical stuff. It doesn't have all the computer stuff, that these new engines have, and it has the old hydraulic controls and not these micro commanders and stuff, which all that's great, but I grew up learning it that way. I know how to work on the old stuff. I can kind of troubleshoot that stuff better than the computerized things, and so that's almost kind of intimidating for me. Is what happens when the computer chip goes out? What do I do now?
Right. There's not a new computer chip, but you can plug a hole. Or you can...
Exactly. Well, the Cat 3406. It's just one of the best engines I think ever built. So, we'll run and So the old school, and then also I just like I said, I learned everything kind of the old school way from my dad, and so that just name to me was perfect, and I didn't feel the need to change it.
I thought it was perfect for Wes too, because Wes is like old school crab, old school crabber, old school fisherman in everything he did. He's old school.
Oh yeah,
legit.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean,
he would hate to be called an old timer.
Yeah.
He's probably out golfing right now. But
he's living the dream now, I'm sure.
Yeah. So let's talk about the first year running it.
First year running it was actually a really great year for fishing. I mean, it was a good run. How did you
staff yourself? How did you...
What, staffing? Like finding my crew and stuff?
Yeah.
Well, I had...
You still Miguel?
I wish. Miguel ended up passing away.
No.
He always said he'd come work for me one day, but he got sick, and his liver gave out on him. He wasn't a drinker or anything, but he got the cirrhosis, so kind of a weird deal. But he was 40. I want to say he was 46 when he passed a couple of years. Yeah, we were like family. We'd been through the wars together. But yeah, I would have loved to have had him on the boat. But no, I had a guy, Kyle. He was a school teacher, which that's always a great fit for this thing. Guys that are girls that teach get the summers off. So, and another guy, Sebi, he was one of my guys, and I had a woman, Katie was her name as well, Katie Bishop, and she was a last minute hire because the guy that was supposed to come up that year bailed on me last second. He had some other job he had to do, so this gal Katie came in, and I had a good crew for my first year, and put in a good season. But
all green or
no, only green one was Katie, the Katie Bishop, and she was tough. One of those gals that would play hockey with the boys and stuff like that, like just kind of a little gal, but she could take a hit, so she was good. But yeah, I don't have the same crew as I did that year, but anymore. But I got a good group together, and it's kind of, this fishery is hard because you have to be able to break away from your normal life for 2 months or whatever. And if a guy gets a good job or something at home, then it's hard to give that up to go up for the summer. So I do have a couple people that have returned, but it's kind of, seems like there's a high turnover in that regard with crew. So yeah, but I've got a good run. I can't complain about the crews I've had. They're all real hardworking people who just want to make a go of it. The Alaskan dream. This year I had a guy, a green guy, that was just pumped the whole time because he loved fishing, and it was just the Alaska experience.
That brings the energy up, right?
Oh yeah,
it makes everybody else want to work more.
Just being excited to be there. And
who's cooking?
I like to cook, but I just never have the time anymore when I'm running the boat. So it's kind of, the guys just take turns cooking, and we knock some good meals out. We eat a lot of salmon, but other things too. Just get creative with what you have. It's one of those deals where, okay, what do we have? We can make this with it, and we eat good on our boat, but
I think that's important. You got to be able to eat good.
It's a morale thing. If you got a well-fed crew and everybody's fed and happy, sometimes it's one of the only things you have to look forward to is a good warm meal. So we try to eat a good warm meal once a day if possible, and it just seems like everybody's happy if you can do that. And the rest of the time it's kind of grab and go stuff or whatever, but if everybody gets to sit down and fill their bellies, then life is good out on the water there.
Okay, Katie, not Casey, Katie.
Katie, yeah.
What has been, and it's going to be hard for you to answer this, but what has been your best moment on the water? And you can give more than one example, but what's been your best time on the water?
Best time. Ooh. Well, I guess if I had to think of one time or one day or whatever, there was a time when I was working deck on my dad's boat, and we ran over to the Kviak there, and it was just a flat, calm, sunny, hot day, and we really didn't see much fish around or anything, but it opened up and we threw the net out, and it was just like plunk, 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 plunk. Like, you just kind of see the corks jiggling, and we're like, oh, this might be really good. So we run to the other end and kind of tow it up a little, and the whole net's just full. And like, oh, we better start picking this thing, So we start picking it, and we ended up, I think it was like 6-hour opener, and we ended up with, I want to say like 32,000 pounds in like 6 hours. It was just pick.
Katie,
hot sunny
get
day.
to the net.
Yeah, go fast. It was kind of cool too because the net was getting kind of hammered and trashed at the time. So it was going to be maybe one of our last days fishing that net, and we were just like, cut it, just cut them out, nip, 1 bars. Just we were going to switch our gear out. So it was just a great time. Everybody's laughing and happy, and the weather was flat calm. We would have never been able to load that boat that much if the weather was kicked up. It would have been too dangerous, but it was just flat calm, and just fish on the deck and everything. Packed the hatches full. That boat could hold about 20,000 pounds refrigerated, but then everything else, we had deck back. You had to climb through the window to get in the cabin, that kind of deal. But that was great. But there's many good times. I mean, I think for me too, just being out there sometimes, just being out there and kind of disconnecting from all the busy hustle and bustle of like back home, and just kind of experiencing nature and the fishing part, and just zeroing in on that. And that's the only thing I have to worry about is making sure the boat's running and going and catching fish, and of course keeping the crew safe and everything. But it's just something that I have in my blood now, and I just can't imagine not going back. Who knows how many years I'll have or whatever, but it's a pretty special time, as challenging as it can be, but and there's a lot of sacrifice. I mean, I miss my family when I leave. My son, Cooper, he's 3 now, and, I leave him for that time, and I'm so fortunate that my mother-in-law is able to help take care of him when I'm gone, and my husband is there, but he's working, so if I didn't have the family support, it would be very difficult to even pull it off. But maybe, hopefully one day Cooper might want to come up with me and experience it and pass it on.
I think I'm going to be the one to cry during this episode. I mean, that's probably the most eloquent answer I've heard, which you're triggering a new question that I don't think I've ever asked. So I asked you about your greatest day at sea or your time at sea, but now I'm going to ask you about your best life lesson learned at sea, and who did you learn it from?
Well, that's a tricky one, but of course the very first thing that comes to mind is you get out of it what you put into it. And I really feel like the fishing is you can't really, as much as you prepare and put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. If you just kind of half-ass it and don't, make sure your gear's right or your boat's right or your crew's doing things the way you need, then you're not going to do as well. And that can carry over to anything in life. But that was really instilled in me from Bristol Bay. And, of course, I learned that from my dad. He's...
Props to Pete.
Yeah, he's... he was harder on me, and he knows it too. He would even say he was harder on me than any of the other crew.
He said he paid you more than the other crew.
Yeah, well, yeah. You
get out of something what you put into it.
Oh, yeah, and he rewarded me for it. If I produced, then I got rewarded for that. And, but yeah, a lot was on my shoulders when I worked for him, but it also prepared me for my role as a skipper and, making sure that everything, is the way it needs to be. And there's many times that something comes up, it's a hectic situation, and I know what to do because I've been through it with my dad, on his boat. And one time that comes to mind this last year was it was the ebb, and we were catching good fish, and I had about 3 shackles out. We're picking it back right up, getting close to the line, and I kind of had to tow a little bit, and my net snapped in half. It just snapped in half, and we're drifting towards the line. Don't have much wiggle room. The cops are right there. The skiff is just going back and forth right there, and I knew what to do, though. I just ran to the other end, and I told the crew, grab a snap and throw it on the tow line, and I towed it while we picked the other part of the net back in that had broke, and then hooked up to that part, and, I was able to get out of that snafu because, I knew what to do because I've seen it happen before, and I didn't freak out, and that was probably one of the more crazy things that happened last year to us, but, there's many things like that I don't really realize that I know, but until it comes up in a real life situation, and I'm like, oh, shoot, okay, I've seen that before. I know what to do. So, yeah, it's, now I'm trying to figure out my own style and just what kind of skipper I want to be, because I learned a lot from my dad. But we have a little different styles, and I can do it my way now, which is great,
It's your boat, your permit.
Yeah, and it's really fun, and it's cool. And now we bounce ideas off each other, and just
different form of communication.
Yeah, it's really been a great journey. I feel very fortunate that really if I was born into another family, or my dad wasn't a fisherman or something like that, I may have never even gone up to Bristol Bay. And so, I just feel Bristol Bay has given me so much freedom in my life. Like, I don't necessarily have to work a 9-to-5 job and do all that. If it's a good season, I take a little more time, and I'm able to be home. And in the off season, I'm Cooper's mom, and I'm also a dental hygienist, but I only work a couple days a week now. And but it's given me so much freedom in my life, and now my family, giving us the ability to, you can make a chunk of money and do something with it. And we've remodeled half our house like a few years back, and just stuff like that. Not that, I'm like rich or something, but it gives you something. You can work with it.
Not worried about putting gas in the truck.
Yeah, a comfortable life. And
Cooper's going to have a permit in about 4 years.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Shoot, man, it's still kind of the Wild West up there, but he likes fishing. We got him out on a boat. Gosh, I think he was 3 months old when we first took him out boating. The life jacket was so big on him, he could hardly move his arms. But and my husband is a very avid sport fisherman.
Boy, I learned that.
Yeah, I mean, he's way fishier than me. I mean, as far as like thinking like a fish, he can catch them. That's for sure. Lingcod, Chris. We go out and catch albacore tuna out of Westport just for fun, and we'll load the boat, and it's a good time bringing friends and stuff. And
when I saw you guys show up today, we're sitting here in Maine at this would be
this is Jesse's one of the guys we fish with, Beaver, in our radio group. It's one of his crewmen, and we're out here visiting.
And there's right on the water, guys.
Yeah.
So when Katie, Chris, and little Coop showed up today, the first thing I saw was Cooper running down to the water, and you guys following him.
He did. He just sprinted down there.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny.
So let's go to a little darker side, Katie. What's the worst time you've had on the water?
Ooh. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't...
Everybody's got one.
Oh, that's a hard one, the worst, but...
You can give us several examples.
Oh, I would say my first season. I got it in the wheel real good. It was a real good day of fishing, and
this is when you were captain.
My first season there, we were in the Nush, and it was probably the first really good day of fishing. And it's one of those deals where the crew yells clear if you're clear, and am I clear? And I get clear,
and you were not clear?
I was not clear, which ultimately it's my decision to put the thing in gear, but I got it in real bad, and we have a clean out. I tried cutting, and it's not coming. The thing's wrapped up in there real tight.
So what's happening
cutting?
Explain to us what's happening when you have your line in your wheel.
Yeah, so
what
if you
can
go
what
over,
can you not do?
Well, you turn the boat off is always the first thing I do, and we have a clean out, so you can open up this little hatch back there and feel down there where the prop and the shaft is, and just kind of feel how bad it is. Sometimes you can just flick it off. It's not really wrapped in there very much or anything. Well, in this case, it was spun up in there pretty good. And so what you do is you just try to cut it out. And I got my own net in my wheel, so it wasn't anybody else involved. So we're just drifting, trying to cut it out. And we're all taking turns because it's kind of hard and it's real cold. Your hands start to go numb after a while, and you got to be careful because these knives you use are real sharp. These Vickies, and you could cut yourself real easily, especially when you're numb kind of from in the cold. And so we're cutting, and we're not making progress. It's just real tight and bad. And I was so tired that just giving it my all. I'm just going to lay down for a second and just kind of recharge. And we're drifting up towards Clark's Point, which is, far. We were up at the line, real far. And drifting. I'm kind of getting out of radio contact at this point with the other guys in the group. And anyway, we end up calling Beaver, actually. Jesse's captain. He was up towards Clark's, and Beaver's up this way. So, hey Beav, I messed up, man. Can you help me out? And he came and he got me and got me up on the dock there, and it's funny. I call him my hero after that ever since, because he sure helped me out that day. But we got up on the dock, went dry there, and we're able to get down there and cut it out. But that was just a real bummer because I missed all that good fishing, and it's just kind of stressful, not being able to cut it out.
If that's been your worst experience, you've been very fortunate.
one of my worst. I think it was just traumatic, but I'm sure there's some other stuff. One of the things I just despise is when I miss fishing time. It's one of those things. But we've had some battles out there. Back in the old days. It's really not old days.
Old school days.
The old school days. Back in when I first started going up, which I think even before that it was more rowdy. But guys would be hollering and screaming, which they still do. But we'd have like, this is just kind of crazy. But guys would be throwing cans of corn at each other, like trying to hit their windows and T-boning and like just
Rowdy. Crazy
stuff, and it's not really like that so much anymore, which I think is good.
Well, everybody's got $1 million boat or something.
Yeah, it's
you're a little more cautious when you're not in a $30,000 boat.
But it's there were some crazy times there, in the earlier days. But yeah, things have kind of settled down that way.
So, Katie, if you had to say what the sea has given to you, and you've covered some of this, but if you had to put it in a nutshell, what has the sea given to you, personally?
So much. I mean, I guess you could say, I kind of touched on the freedom, but like financial freedom, somewhat. It's taught me a lot of life lessons. One of the things, kind of corny thing we like to say, is you can't coach desire. You learn, like, you could kind of, if you want something, I wish more people would realize that if you really want something, you can do it. Anybody can do anything they want, especially, being in a free country like this. But if you're willing to work hard and go out there and, give it your all at something, you can do anything you put your mind to. And, it's just given me a lot of confidence and shown me what I'm capable of, like, as far as pushing myself beyond what I thought I was capable of, either sleep deprivation or physical pain or, just being able to work long hours at a time, being away from my family. And it's given me really just a really great life. I don't know.
What has it taken from you?
Oh, it's taken, time away from my family, but it's also given me time with my family. Because, you think about...
The sea, she gives and takes.
Yes, So it's like, there's always the pros and cons of everything. And in my opinion, and my husband too, we think it's worth continuing on. It's kind of our... One day, hopefully, he can come up too.
I'm surprised he's not, because he is fishy.
Well, he's got a great job at home, and right now it's not one of those jobs you could leave and come back and start right where you left off. Yeah. So, we're going to give it some more time, but the eventual goal is to get us all up there, and, hopefully we don't wring each other's necks. We're not really that way, but...
He seems really mellow.
He's chilling. Way more chill than me. But, that's the goal. We're just gonna, each season we get under our belts, we're getting closer to that goal. And, of course, Cooper, I think it's too young at this point. But, give it a few more years, and who knows what we'll be doing. But... yeah, just time away, and really that's the biggest sacrifice for me, is just, before I had my son, he's a June baby, so I was home that summer. But before that, I don't remember hardly the last summer I was, home, able to have a 4th of July party and all that stuff. But, that's all just kind of, big deal.
Yeah. So, what advice would you have for young people or thinking about getting into this industry?
Well, well, let's see.
Where do they start?
Where do you start? Just getting in, like just as a deckhand, trying to get in, or running a boat, or what do you think? Like just.
Well, I don't think anybody should just start running a boat.
Oh no, I don't think so either.
Those days are gone, right? I certainly hope they are, but
it would be pretty hard. There's a lot of things. Now, depending on the person, how many seasons. When you learn so much working on deck with a skipper. But yeah, just to me, it seems the most successful people that are able to get a job is just get up there. Just get up there and start asking around, and have your gear, your rain gear, and all that, and just be ready to work your butt off. Your attitude is way more important than any physical abilities that someone may have. I've seen
to start for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I've seen you could be like the strongest, most physically capable person, but if you don't mentally have the right stuff, you're not gonna make it. It's tough, I think the sleep deprivation gets to people a lot, and then being stuck on a little boat with three strangers or whatever.
Does your boat have a bathroom?
Yes.
I asked that because a lot of boats don't.
Yes, we have a head, and it's really nice. We got a shower and a toilet, and it's a real comfortable boat too. We can be in some pretty bad weather, and at least compared to the boats I've been on, which have been all nice boats, but to me, it's the most seaworthy boat I've been on. I really like the Curry. But yeah, no, it's it's tight quarters, but your own little bunk area.
It's only 32 feet long.
Yeah, it's only 32 feet. So you got so you got some guy putting his stinky socks, on the galley table or something, that kind of wears on you after a while. It's funny though. I'll just take their stuff and throw it in their bunk if it bothers me. But usually people are pretty good. It's long hours, and think the boat gets messy. But I'll say, we gotta clean this up, and it gets cleaned
Today's
up.
a clean day.
Yeah.
Katie, well, I thank you a lot for taking the time today.
Yeah.
Do you have any final thoughts you want to share?
No,
or anything you want everyone to know?
Just take it one day at a time. just one foot in front of the other, and if you have a goal, just set your mind to it, and you can do anything. I think that's kind of my motto.
That's the trigger.
Yeah.
Okay, Katie. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening today, and follow us on Instagram. Check out our new gear store. Get yourself some Galley Stories gear if you can. And we will see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Galley Stories. We hope you like what the net brought in. Please leave us a review on iTunes. Whether you like it or not, we're not fishing for compliments. Look us up on Facebook and Twitter too, and reach out to us at galleystories@gmail.com.